Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
The reDiscovery podcast is an IVM production. If you like the show, also check out Paisa Vaisa, a show that will clear all your personal finance doubts from mutual funds to loans to SIPs.
In 2015, Ambika and Hoshner quit their jobs and set out to rediscover the country through planes, trains, and rickety old buses. What started as a break has now grown into a life of travel and discovery. On this podcast, they take you through the highlights of their journey. This is the reDiscovery Podcast.
In this episode, we're going to talk about one of our favorite places in the country, the Ziro Valley. So every September, the Valley is home to the fabulous Ziro Festival of Music, which we absolutely love and have been to twice in the past, 2015 and then 16. And when we started our travels in 2015, it was one of the first places we went to, actually.
It was actually, one of the first major trips we did, and we sort of planned our entire Arunachal trip around Ziro.
Yeah.
I mean, we tried to do it for a couple of years before it never worked out, and then we had all this time, and we said, Ziro, let's do Ziro. And we never been to the Northeast, so let's do the Northeast as well, let's do Arunachal. And that whole trip flowed from the whole Ziro trip.
Yeah, that's sort of what happened. I think the Ziro was the end of our Arunachal trip, and we've done a Arunachal episode in our season 1, so you can go back and look at that. Yeah, we talked about Tawang. So this episode is actually about the Ziro Festival of Music, which we are going to talk about and help you plan your perfect trip for the festival. Now, the festival dates this year, which is kind of important to know, are the 28th of September till the 1st of October.
Yeah, and planning Ziro is not that easy because it's
not that difficult.
Yeah, it's kind of far.
Don't get scared.
It's kind of far and it's difficult to get to. But that's what we're here to tell you about. How you can plan it, like Ambika said, the dates and all the other things you need to keep in mind. And we have a very special guest with us today to talk about Ziro. We don't very often have other travelers with us on the podcast. But this time we have May Thomas, the resident music expert here at IVM. And she came with us to Ziro last time.
It was really fun. You guys had been the year before.
Yeah,
it's been almost a year since you conned us into going again.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I basically went through Ambika and I convinced her, and then the only person we had to convince was you.
I don't think I took a lot of convincing. It
was
not all of 30 seconds.
Exactly. I was like, hey, do you want to go to Ziro? And you were like, yeah, sure. Now I just convince Hoshner.
That took a few minutes.
Yeah, but I just needed another excuse, I think.
I don't think one needs an excuse to go to Ziro at all for any reason. And if you are only going to go there once, obviously we suggest doing that for the festival. So just to put this in context for anyone who might not know yet, the Ziro Valley is in Arunachal Pradesh, which is in the northeast of India. And we're going to go through a series of questions to May, and then we'll sort of bring in all the important details of how to get there, what's there to eat, what can you do other than the music,
where to stay,
and obviously, the key part of it, which is the music. So I'm going to, start a little bit about as to why go, right? Why? And I think I'm going to, before we get to May, I'm going to give a little story. I think about 3 years ago, my uncle, who's about in his mid-50s or something like that, he had gone to the Ziro Festival and he came back and he was like, oh, you have to go. And I said, why? And he said, because it's the Woodstock of your generation. Wow. And I was like, okay then, and all very serious.
You all are really very deprived children.
Yes.
But go for this one. This is like genuine good stuff.
And obviously I can't compare to the original Woodstock other than what I've seen on TV and what I've heard stories. But it kind of did feel like it might have been a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I've been dying to go to Ziro for ages. And it's like one of those things where you just have to do. It's that thing in your to-do list that I just hadn't done. And when I heard that you guys had gone there, I'm like, I'm going to take advantage of these wonderful people. And
she was literally like, let's go to Ziro again. Guys.
Guys, you done it once, but this time you're with me.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit the other way around. You're with us.
Yeah.
But it was great because we don't always have people accompany us on our trips because our trips are not, they're a little bit difficult at times, because we do a lot of public transport type of travel. But this was great because May was there, and then we had a couple of other of our friends who took advantage, just like May did, and hopped on because we did all the planning. So
yeah, you guys did all. Yeah, that was amazing. I literally had to do nothing. Even the inner-line permit, you guys helped me get as well.
The inline permit is not difficult. We'll talk about how to do it a little later.
Yeah.
But so what did you? I mean, what made the festival for you besides obviously the music? I mean, what was it? The one thing that you really loved?
The thing is, I think it's just the adventure of going to. I've never been to the Northeast before in my life. Thanks to you guys, this was like my first chance to actually go. And I think for me, I honestly didn't even look up the lineup. Like initially, I was just like, I just want to go. I don't care who's playing there. I just want to go to the Northeast, see some awesome music, sit on a hillock, and just like stare at a stage. Like that was literally all I cared about at that time.
And that's a big thing about the Ziro Valley and the music, right? It's sit on a hillock and listen to the music.
And the setting is epic, right?
Yes,
at the end of the day, it's
stunning.
surreal. That whole, I mean, even the second time we went, it still felt magical, and I think that was the emotion expressed by pretty much everyone there, right? That this place is magical.
It is beautiful, and you sort of have to imagine, or you can go and look at our photographs on our website. But the way they've set up the whole system is what makes, I think, the festival that much better. Because it's great music, yes, and it's great food and everything, but it's how they brought all of that together on that hillock.
Yeah.
That makes it.
Exactly.
So anyway, it's a really beautiful setting, and I think that's what makes up a large part of the magic of the festival. I think for me, and I speak for May here for sure, is that the food is amazing that it's a huge part of the festival.
Put this Kella Mallu in the Northeast, the only other place in this country where you get like excellent pork and
you know what?
And beef.
I literally ate my weight in pork at that festival. There was one point in time where I think Hoshna and Ambika like slapped me on the back
we had
so
to pull
hard.
her away
like,
from that
stop.
pork stall. Okay, I'll have a sausage and then I'll have some roast pork. And then
I think you gave them good
out.
business. Yeah, so the festival has a bunch of different food from around the region. So there's Naga food, there's different Arunachali food from the different tribes. But I think what attached itself to May, or May attached itself to this one stall, was this amazing place that has this lady who has a restaurant in Guwahati.
Yeah, she does.
You remember? I don't remember the name of the restaurant. But she has a stall, and I know she's going to have a stall again this year.
Oh,
so
awesome.
if anything, we have to go back.
Just
to eat her pork.
It was so good though, like really good. I was just eating sausages and bacon wrapped sausages and just like pork and more pork and fried pork and curried pork and everything was so good.
And washing it all down with the rice beer.
Yeah. Oh God, that rice beer was fun.
Yeah. So the food is really good. There is a lot of adventurous food also.
If you want to.
If you want to eat it. I mean, the first year I remember I tried the fried silkworms, which are they're not bad. I didn't eat them the second year, but I didn't mind that I tried them the first year.
The first year we went there, we also made a genuine attempt to eat the rat. So in Ziro especially, they eat a lot of different things which you wouldn't normally eat, and they eat field rats there. They're not your domestic, dirty black rats. They're field rats, jungle rats, and they eat it just like they would eat like anything else, like a rabbit or chicken.
Yeah.
And we're like, and we over 3 days we worked up our courage to try and eat this rat.
How was that though?
We got to the stall and they say, no, sir, sold out.
Sold out?
And the rat was sold out. And we were like between awe and oh God, thank God.
Yeah. Though I think, and this might be me being a little bit biased, the best food I have still had to date has been in Punyo's house.
I love Punyo.
And yes, and Punyo is where we stayed.
Yeah.
And Punyo's house, the Chadda house, is a homestay in the Ziro Valley. It's a little bit outside the main town, which is Hapoli town in the valley, and that's the main town in that region. And we're not going to really get into Punyo's house because we talked a lot about it in our homestays episode. So you can check that out for more information. But I think the food there was epic. I mean, and it was amazing.
Yeah, it was a lot of the same food, but it was homemade and
I gotta try so many of like their local vegetables there, and like their vegetables are like so good. They just boil it and it's so flavorful.
Yeah,
it's
everything comes from her garden.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I gotta try it the first time in my life, bamboo chicken.
that was
bamboo
epic,
chicken. I think is our favorite. Mine too.
It was really good.
So check out our homestays episode for more on Punyo's house. But lots of food to be had. And I mean, there's different stalls and there's lots of vegetarian food as well. So don't get scared by May's pork extravaganza.
Yeah.
And since we're talking
Pork
about Punyo's
fetish.
house, we can talk a little bit about the stay options.
Yeah.
So there are 2 or 3 options basically. You have a few homestays in Ziro, which you can stay at. You have 2 or 3 hotels in the main town of Hapoli. And you have the camping option. So basically, the pros and cons to all of them. I mean, we stayed in, like Ambika said, Punyo's house, the Chadda homestay, and we completely loved that. We stayed there 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
It was a little outside of town, and you need to be aware that if you stay in even in town, in the Hapoli town or in a homestay, which might not be really very close to the venue, you might have a little bit of a difficult time getting to the venue. But I mean, we loved it. We just walked up and down. It was a 20-minute walk and it was lovely, right?
Yeah, it was really nice because I know that the homestay was a little outside, not just the town, but also a little away from where Ziro was being held. But the thing was, we actually did this one where we just walked there. We walked for like an hour, just like sauntering through the countryside, and it was really nice. And I got to actually see like everything. We cut through different towns. I also, weirdly enough, bumped into Gulpanag.
Oh, yes, we
Just
did.
random.
Yeah.
And she was there she was there for the festival, and she was also there like driving around in the Northeast or something. So that was a bit random.
Yeah, that was, but fun.
Yeah.
She seems like a very
She's-
nice person. So we also had a little, I had a little fangirl moment. So,
She was
I
asking
enjoyed
you
that.
guys for advice too, man.
Well, I don't think she asked us for advice, but
I think Ambika just gave it anyway.
Yeah, but see, that's the great part about staying off the festival ground is that you get to walk. So that's a little bit of exercise, and you walk through the fields and you walk through the villages.
The Patani villages.
But if you don't want to do that, if you'd rather be in the thick of everything, then you can camp on the festival ground itself. So Ziro has a tent city where you can pitch your own tent. You have to just reserve a spot for that.
They also have tents pitched for those who don't have their own tents.
For those. And then there are companies and camping people who make their own tent city. So like Kite Manja, for example, you can just go through them and you get a tent, and I think it's a whole package with like food involved. So you get breakfast in the morning, and then they have their own loos and bathrooms and showers and
we
everything.
heard the Kite Manja setup was very good this year.
Last year.
The Ziro setup was better than it was the year before, but still not, I think,
I don't know.
at the same
think
level.
Most of the people that I'd spoken to who had gone to Ziro previously were very much like for the homestays, because you just get having a decent loo and a shower.
Yes,
is very
is-
important.
yeah,
And I think
for
that's
sure.
probably one small place where they can
Definitely improve,
yeah. Though I think from the 215 to 216, the loos were much better. So
Yeah.
I don't really have any complaints per se. But then I, of course, went back to Punyo's house every evening. So
Yeah, I mean, in 2015 we went with a huge bunch of friends, and I remember that some of them actually got a hotel room just to bathe and go to the loo,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
the
for
loos
one
weren't
of the
great on the
afternoons.
festival, especially after 3 days of the festival. It's a 4 day
days,
festival. It's a
yeah.
4-day festival.
Yeah.
So at the end of 4 days, a little bit of rain, some slush, and the place is destroyed. So,
yeah, pretty much. There wasn't too much rain when we were there, though.
but obviously,
No,
camping
no.
is a whole different,
Yeah,
experience.
that is like.
I mean,
yeah.
I really wanted to spend a couple of days there, just be at the festival the whole day, 24/7. It would have been really nice. And I think if we do Ziro again, I would like to do that for at least a couple of nights.
Yeah.
So on that note, we're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hello there, my name is Naveen Narona, and as a gay person in India, I get asked a lot of stupid questions.
Beta, is it LGBT or eligibility?
How do two men procreate?
Bro, is Grindr better than Tinder or what?
We answer all these questions and much more on my podcast, Keeping It Queer, where I talk to individuals from the LGBT community in India and learn about their personal stories. Catch all the episodes on the IVM podcast app or any other podcasting app you like. Till then, keep it queer.
Welcome back to the reDiscovery podcast.
Thing is, another aspect of this is that it's not just like a little bit rainy there, but it's also super windy because it's like slightly hilly. And I know that I've camped out when it's been super windy and you cannot sleep
not fun.
because just that ruffling of the tent continuously through the night is painful.
So, I mean, I guess there are options for everybody, right? There's the camping option. And I think what we would suggest from what we've heard is to possibly go through one of the companies that have their own tent cities, because then they do the whole package for you. You know, you have the tent, you have the food at the breakfast in the morning.
Yeah, some of them do the transportation to and fro, which is also a big deal of getting to Ziro, which we'll talk about later.
And then there's the hotels, and then there's the homestay. Though if you want to stay in a hotel in Hapoli, you have to book
really early.
Yesterday because they get full up really fast. And they mostly get full up with the organizers and the musicians and the bands, so which is, you know, why we're all there.
There's only, I think, three major hotels in...
No, I think now there's a couple more. They were constructing them when we were there last.
Yeah, so those get filled up first, and then it's the homestays and the tents.
Yeah. To book a homestay, you can go through this local NGO called Nagunu Ziro. They have a Facebook page. That's NGUNUZIRO. And you can book it through their Facebook page, which is how we had found the Chadda home. Nice. Yeah, so that's how, and you enjoyed the Chadda home, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. They were so nice. Like, Punyo and his wife were absolutely
and that's, I think,
lovely.
one of the 6 homestays that there are, which get booked through Nagunu Ziro. So, I mean, that would be our recommended option.
And we pretty much took over that entire house because there was like the 3 of us and your friends from Delhi, right?
Yeah.
So we practically owned his whole house for that brief period of time.
I think he really enjoyed us.
Yeah. And he was also really good to us, just generally. I mean, there was one point where we couldn't get back from the festival and he picked us up halfway and like... Yeah, and had dinner for us at like 11 in the night.
Yes.
Man, he was
His
so
wife
nice.
is amazing like that. Yeah. So, I mean, I think our recommendation is still the homestay option because then you get that, you know,
homestay
experience
or I would
also.
say camping. Don't stay at a hotel.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the kind of place you want to stay at.
The homestay was also nice because I felt like I learned so much from Punyo just generally, you know, just chatting to him about like, because I think there was a butterfly festival that had just happened and he is a really big part of it.
Yeah, he's one of the organizers. So maybe this year we can do the butterfly festival.
Yeah, but what you really want to go to Ziro for is the music.
Yeah. So it's such a strange thing because I made an announcement that I was going to go for Ziro. And one of my old school friends, I used to be in boarding school, from Germany had sent me a message on Facebook saying, you know, that Surain is going to be performing at Ziro. And Surain Vikas was on the lineup. He's an old Rishi Valley school friend. And it's bizarre because he basically did an all Tamil set.
Yes.
At Ziro.
And that's the great thing about Ziro, right? You can do an all Tamil set.
Exactly.
And you have local northeastern bands. You have bands from Bombay, Delhi, Bangalore, all the usual suspects. Yeah. And everyone like carts themselves up for 4 days to one end of the country and plonks themselves on that hillock.
And there were people from all over the world as well. There was a French guy called Antoine who did a fully French set. There was a guy called Dauda Jaborte, who we befriended
on the train.
Yeah. So he was a kora player, which is a traditional instrument.
So good.
He's also very cute.
Yes. Oh yes.
Super cute. And so it's amazing. Like the first thing I really like the setup of the festival. They have a day stage. So it's basically the day stage is located like just slightly below like a hillock. So you're just on this like side of a hill and watching the day stage. And behind the day stage is like the sun setting, which is beautiful.
The sun sets over the fields, and beyond the fields there's the forest, and beyond the forest there are more hills.
Yeah.
So it's a very beautiful setting.
Stunning.
And the day stage is called Daini, which is Apatani for sun. So the day stage, and then there's the night stage, which is
a far bigger like setup. The day stage is pretty, you know, just some bamboo and something, and like just like a raw. Like,
but I really
stage
like the day stage. I mean, I
liked it because it was it's chiller.
It was so nice just sitting on that hill and like lying down,
music.
having your rice beer.
It's sway music. Yeah.
And I mean, there were a lot of nice bands which I'd never heard before playing there.
There's some really good ones. And so in the day stage, there were some really great artists. I mean, one obviously was like my friend who I thought was amazing. There's a guy who it's so weird. His name is Boom and his band is called The Boomies. and he is a brilliant guitarist from Mizoram, and I'd interviewed his band Boomerang.
Boom played the year before also with a very heavy band, and then he played on the day stage with a very mellow set, I think. Was it?
So for this one, it was like, I mean, he's a really good guitarist, and he's got like amps named after him or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's quite cool. So Boomerang, he was in a band called Boomerang from Mizoram. I'd interviewed them a couple of years ago on Radio 1.
So Boomerang was playing in 2015 on the night stage,
Oh yeah, they were a bit heavy.
And Ambika ran away from that music.
Heavy.
And I was right in the front jumping around. I remember this.
It's one of those headbanging stuff. But Hosha did take some very good photographs of them.
Yeah, we sent some to Boom as well. He's very happy.
Yeah. He's a really nice guy. So he was really great. Also, there was an Israeli artist called Shai Ben-Zur, and his set was also really amazing.
Yeah, I think he was one of the top billers.
He was
last year.
He's played at Weekender. No, not Weekender. How I'd heard about Shai Ben-Zur is because there was a documentary done where he had done a collaboration with
the
these
Radiohead guy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Why? Greenwood? Johnny Greenwood. So he did Johnny Greenwood, and these Manganir Rajasthani folk artists had done a collaboration together, and it was all filmed by a guy called Paul Thomas Anderson, who's the director, and he's really great. And I saw that. I think I saw the documentary in Mammy or something like that, and then I'm like, oh my God, this guy's performing at Ziro. This is amazing. And he's a really, really, really great artist. And the Manganir, like Rajasthani folk musicians were also there for the set.
There.
Yeah, it was really nice.
And they played, I think, I don't know if you guys saw this, but on the last day of the day stage, they did sort of like a jam session, with a bunch of other
technical terms.
Yes.
To close the festival.
Yes, but it was to close the afternoon part of the festival. They did a jam, which is really fun because I think even the year before, a bunch of the artists got together and it just was this impromptu jam session.
But you have to know there's like 30-40 different artists from all over the country staying together in this tent city, and they're going to jam. It
is bound to happen.
And I think the best part is that they're not just jamming on stage when there's a break between the day stage and the night stage, or earlier before the music begins in the morning. You'll find them all over the place, and some of them are just chilling, singing, playing some guitar, and you can just go and hang out with any of them. So it's very open.
Yeah, and there's some big Indian bands there, right? There was Scrat.
Yeah,
there was.
They're so good.
What was the Chennai band?
So my standout, Chennai represent. So there were some. So from the night stage, there were some really standout bands. There was an Italian rock band where every single guy in that band was really hot. They were called the Graham Lions.
Oh yeah,
and they were
Don't ask me about their music, but they were very nice-looking people. We took some pictures with them. I remember.
So basically, Graham Lions were really great, and they played this day 3 or something like that, just the day before the last day, and they were really good. Scrat and Graham Lions played one after the other, and it was a really like high energy, like, because then the night should be a high energy set because you've just been chilling all day, and that pace of the day stage, and then you have a little break of an hour before you get to the night stage. It's nice. So you get to explore a little bit, you get to see all the little stalls and all that kind of thing. It's nice. Besides that, someone that I like, who just anyway has great stage presence and is awesome on stage, but Divine. The rapper, the whole place was like singing Mere Gali Mein, Mere Gali Mein. And more than half of them have not lived in a gully at all. And so,
And we had heard about Divine actually on your show. I think
it was your show about Nazy, and then we learned about Divine.
And then we learned about Divine,
and
then it was like, oh wait, this is the same Divine.
This is the same Divine.
Yeah, and I actually ran into him a couple of years later, this year.
Oh really?
In Guwahati, where he was playing Rongali, which is a festival that they have there at the beginning of the year, and I was wearing the same Ziro t-shirt. And he's like, oh, you were at Ziro. And he said, let me Instagram it.
Oh, that's awesome. But he's also a really nice guy.
Yeah,
there are some people and that's also what I really loved about Ziro, that everyone was so approachable. Like even on our way there, because I remember traveling there was the one big thing, right? Because we were flying into Guwahati.
Yes.
Then the overnight train from Guwahati to Nahar Lagoon, and then the car, which is 6 hours to the Ziro Valley.
It's quite the
Hapoli.
journey.
Yeah.
It's quite a journey. But the great thing about that train ride is most of the musicians performing were on that train, like in the same bogie as us. And so that's how we met Dauda and stuff like that, right?
Yes.
Just super fun.
And I think that's what is the one thing you take away from the festival is that it's such a great vibe.
Yeah.
Is that those 4 days and you think, oh my God, it's 4 days and it's, you're going to the same place. And normally when you take a holiday or something like that, you do many things in 4 days. And here you're kind of actually doing only the one thing.
Yeah.
But it's amazing.
It's totally worth
it's
it.
perfect. Yeah, it's totally worth it. And I think the valley and the people and the fact there's little other things like you mentioned that you can do. They have the stalls in the festival.
But they have they try to push people to interact in that festival, right?
Yeah,
they tell you constantly,
yeah.
talk to people, meet people.
Go out and chill.
Yeah, go out. And that sort of creates that very nice atmosphere there where everyone is like, also a little drunk on the rice beer.
Yeah,
So that
rice
helps.
beers, rice wine, rice beer. But it's really nice. Everyone's so warm there. Like you never felt like you were an outsider coming in. It was just, and all the musicians as well. Like, I mean, I obviously bumped into half these guys that I already know. Like the Scrat guys from Chennai, I know. I bumped into.
Yeah, May was like, I don't know anyone. I'm just going to stick to you
May's like
guys.
a celebrity.
And then when she was there, she was out.
Yeah, I don't think we only saw May at night when we had to take her back to the homestay. It's like, May, time to go home now.
You guys are so mean to me.
But I'm just going to jump in here and just to say that other than the music, I think the organizers also make it a point to push people to go and explore the area because there's lots of great outdoor activities to do.
Yeah, and it's Apatani country.
It's
so
Apatani country, yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know, the Apatanis are one of the many tribes that are there in that part of the country.
I learned so much about that,
And they have a very unique tradition where they have facial tattoos and nose plugs. The women, not the men so much. Not the men at all, actually. Which they did at that time because they used to apparently get kidnapped, the women, because they were so pretty. So you had these tattoos on their face and the nose plugs to make them less desirable, apparently. And
that's bizarre, right?
It is, right? And these people live in the valley around the festival. So if you can just walk literally out of the venue and it goes out into all the back lanes and the villages.
Yeah.
And it's really a very nice place to walk around, and it's so peaceful. And you can take photos of these people. You have to be respectful, obviously. They're a little sensitive about it. And this is the last generation of Apatani women who have these tattoos. So that's very interesting. And it's a big part of the draw to go to Ziro, besides obviously the festival and the music and the food and all of that.
Yeah, so there's the walks, and then I think you can go hiking and
bicycling
and trekking up the hills. We haven't yet trekked up the hills, but maybe one year we'll do that. Yeah, seemed very strenuous for that sort of.
The mood was not there.
Yeah, the mood was a lot of rice beer.
Yeah, and you want to just go there and listen to the music, right? Because that's the big reason you're there.
But the first half of the day you do have, if you don't wake up at 11 a.m. and then there is time to
have lunch, cup of
other
tea
activities.
Yeah.
So that I think that's the bulk of what the festival is made up of is the music, the food, the vibe. But I think we'll talk about a couple of important tips and things that people need to know to get to Ziro so they can experience the same amazing festival.
Start planning early. That's tip number one, because it gets really full, whether it's flights or whether it's hotels or trains. Everything fills up really fast.
Yeah. And this is a good time to start planning. So as May mentioned, you from whatever city you're in, if you're not in the northeast already, you fly into Guwahati and then you take the train to Nahar Lagoon, which is the station.
Yeah, so it's a night train to Nahar Lagoon. So you fly in sometime during the day, you take the night train and you get to Nahar Lagoon in the morning around 5-6 a.m.
5 in the morning.
And from there it's like a 5-6 hour drive up to Ziro.
Up into Ziro Valley, yes.
So if you want to catch the first day of the festival...
It's not actually 6 hours, but because we stopped at least 3 times, it became...
But it's
a landslide.
Well, yes, and then that
it's
also.
It's the northeast. These things happen.
And we had a tire puncture. Or that was the first year, I think. But anyway, these things are possible. So yes, plan for a few hours of adventure.
The festival is on the 19th.
It starts on the 28th.
On the 28th
of September.
So if you want to get on the 28th, you have to basically fly in the day before.
Yes. So you fly in on the 27th, you take the night train of the 27th, you reach 28th morning, and then you take a taxi from the station into Ziro. There are shared taxis. If you book a package through like Kite Manja or the festival organizers themselves, they usually arrange all of this transport for you, so you don't have the headache of doing that. But it's not difficult. We've done it on our own, so you can also do it on your own. But for the taxi, it's better to have at least 3 or 4 people in the taxi with you. Otherwise, it's a bit expensive to book the entire car. And then you do the same thing in reverse. Basically, so the festival ends on the 1st of October. So on the 2nd, which is a holiday, so you don't have to, rush back or take leave on the 2nd. You've already got that leave. You drive back to Nahar Lagoon station. You take the night train on the 2nd. You reach 3rd morning. You take a flight on the 3rd morning back to your city of residence, and you go to work by lunchtime. So
excellent
job, yes, for everybody. That's what May was supposed to do, but then she ended up spending a couple of days extra in Guwahati. So I think she enjoyed her time over there.
Wow! Look, you ratting me out right now. Hey, but I gotta say, this whole advanced planning thing, definitely got to do, because there are a lot of things that I didn't realize. Like you were talking about the flights. The flights actually were not as expensive as I thought it was going to be when we started booking it.
Yes, we did it a bit early.
Quite early. I can't remember how early, but we were at least more than 3 months, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And also, like, there were like little things that you don't realize, but you need it. And I did them really last minute. You guys were super chill about it. But for example, I didn't have any like Wellington boots. Like I didn't have any gum boots. Yeah. And so my man, Sean, jacked me for not he's like, you can't get it last minute there. What happens if Decathlon is shut near the airport? Like you never know.
There's a black market for boots there.
Yeah.
Everyone
so
wants
he was
boots.
just like, you have to like get some. So he actually, it was raining. I was at work and he actually like went around to try to find me. Like I was like, listen, I'll just get it. Like when I land there, it should be totally fine.
Yeah,
and you guys were totally cool with it too.
You must get gum boots because it gets really slushy if it rains. But you can get them at the Hapoli market there.
Yeah.
There's a lifetime supply of gum boots available.
Exactly.
So
and every second store. Yeah.
Yes, I have bought my boots, very nice, bright purple boots in Hapoli market for a grand sum of 300 rupees. So please do not panic like May and May's man
But
Sean.
Ambika buys them every year and doesn't use them and leaves them every year.
I didn't panic
them
at all. I was because you guys were you told me that Decathlon is right next to the airport. So
the
I was
airport being Guwahati Airport.
Yeah, Guwahati Airport. And I was in Guwahati for like half the day. So I genuinely had enough and more time to do it. And I went there, and I mean, obviously, I bought mine. They were slightly more expensive, but I wanted ones that I could check in as well. So that's why mine were a little bit
If you
more
just
steep.
want use for 4 days, then Hapoli market, 300 rupees, bright purple gum boots.
Yeah, so gum boots you must carry. You must carry things like your battery packs and stuff because mobile network is poor there and there's no way to charge your phone and you're there for the whole day.
So this was so bizarre. In Punyo's house, there was no network. At least I'm on Vodafone. I had no network there. And when I got to Ziro, I had all bars. At Ziro, while we were at the festival, you could upload photos on Instagram. It was great. Like it was just outside of Ziro.
Yeah, it's just in parts. But I have Airtel and I had network, and if you have Aircel also, they have network. So I mean, it depends on your carrier, but definitely carry the portable chargers because while the venue has those charging places, they are not stations. They are not too many and usually pretty full.
Yeah, and if you're planning to walk back from the festival, which you very often will have to do because there's no way of getting out of there, you need to carry a torch because it gets really dark.
Yeah.
But also you could not carry a torch and just look at the stars because that's also very lovely.
It's also pretty. But that was the only weird thing. To transport from the festival back
was one of the
Hapoli
major issues, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll solve it this year.
I hope so.
Well, I mean, the Hapoli market for the day to get to the festival was easy because they have the local taxis, but they don't run at night. So you could book a car for yourself, or like us, you can just walk and hitch a ride or call your homestay person to come and
We
pick you
actually,
up.
at one point in the daytime, actually hitched a ride with a guy who worked for a TV station or something.
Yes,
and like
yes.
he was from Delhi, and he was, it was really. So you end up
Yeah.
meeting a lot of cool people just by hitching a ride.
I think in the first year we hitched a ride with somebody who happened to be a
Performer.
performer.
Yeah.
So, and then we were like, oh, cool. Now I'm friends with a musician. So, yay. So I think it's a little bit if you're open to all of these things, that's kind of fun. But carry like essentials like mosquito repellent, a good book. I don't know if you want to lie on the grass and read your book while you're listening to some music. Medicines, whatever that you might need.
It is the Northeast, so carry some stuff.
Yeah. The most important thing I think to remember is if you're planning this all on your own, you also have to get the inner line permit, which you need for Arunachal. And this is whether you're an Indian or a foreigner, everybody needs an inner line permit. It's super easy to get, so don't sweat.
Yeah, you can just get it online.
You can get it online. If you're in Delhi, you just go to the Arunachal Bhavan, go at lunchtime, eat some good Arunachali food at the Bhavan and get your permit. So, 2 in 1 right there.
Or get it online.
Or get it online. If you're doing one of these packages with the organizers, then they get it for you. So that's also easy enough. But, all of this you can do on your own. We have an excellent guide to Ziro on Condé Nast Traveler that's online. So you can just Google, guide Ziro Festival music and Condé Nast and you'll find that. It's also on our website. So all the information you need is there if you feel like
and
you
we
want
also did a couple of other stories, put up photos of Ziro on our website, so you can check that out at www.reDiscoveryproject.com.
By the way, I gotta say about the interline permit, I was thinking, I'm so used to getting visas in general, and they're really like plain. This looks like I've achieved something.
Yes,
I've
it's
got
like a
a
big certificate.
certificate
You've gone
with
to
my
Arunachal.
face on it, and I was like, wow, this is so nice. I feel like
it's a nice permit to get just to keep also as a
I wanna
memento.
frame it and like hang it up.
Yeah. So I think that's it. I mean, we've talked about the food and where to stay, the music, obviously the most important, the vibe, which everybody loves. I mean, it's the reason to go back again, I think, to Ziro, and all the necessities that you need to know. Anything else, May, you want to add? Tell everybody as to why they should go, or what was like your favorite moment?
Well, I gotta say, my last tip to everyone for Ziro is just go with the reDiscovery project.
Okay, then.
Let's go with you guys. It's just like you guys made my life so much easier. Like I said, I've never been to the Northeast before. I learned so much about that place and the people, and it wasn't just about the music. It was just, I literally felt like I was just like this lost puppy that just followed you guys everywhere. Like I've never had no stress. We were like eating eggs in like a random place when like like our car's wipers didn't work or something, and then we had to wait for another
we did
car.
eat some eggs at a random place. Yeah, but that's
just
part
like,
of the adventure.
That's what. And it's kind of weird. I know people get super stressed, like generally. I never felt stressed at all. It's just the
good.
chiller vibes of the
We are
Northeast.
stress-free travelers, so
I like it.
So if anyone does want to come on an adventure with us, you're most welcome to come. So I think that's it for this time. Go now, buy your festival tickets, book those flights, and apply for leave. That's September 28th to 1st October. For more of our adventures, you can go to our website. Till then, happy travels.
Thanks for listening. India is full of amazing things to buy, from arts and artifacts to antiques and textiles. And in the next episode, we're going to take you shopping around this amazing country.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.